warming is the gradual heating of Earth's surface, oceans, and atmosphere. Global warming occurs when too much of one type of gas is released into the atmosphere. This increase in temperature is melting the poles and glaciers, making hurricanes and other weather events more intense, and causing droughts due to higher temperatures. Although there is plenty of evidence to argue that humans have or haven't impacted global warming in a serious way, we believe that humans have played a large role in our planet's current global warming trend.
Although the world may be warming, it is not due to humans, and the speed at which the Earth is warming isn't as quick as people may think it is. One counter to humans drastically impacting global warming is that 2014 saw record snowfall and record sea ice in Antarctica. These events all occurred in what was supposed to be the hottest year on record. Although it is claimed that CO2 controls temperature change, it is quite the opposite. Temperature change controls CO2 levels, and there's an 800-year lag between the two. According to Dr. Tim Ball, CO2, despite being a minor element of Earth's atmosphere, is essential for all life on Earth because it is the food that nourishes all vegetation. The Earth has passed through many periods of high levels of CO2, and the cycles of warming and cooling are part of life on the planet. The IPCC depended upon the public's lack of knowledge regarding the science involved in global warming hoax was greatly aided because of the mainstream media brought into and promoted the unproven theory.
However, there is significant evidence to disprove all these statements, like ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica are losing mass at an alarming rate. Greenland lost 150 to 250 cubic kilometers in 4 years, while the Antarctic lost 152 cubic kilometers. Glaciers are retreating worldwide. 400 billion tons of glaciers have been lost since 1994. The Antarctic and Arctic ice shelves have lost billions of metric tons of ice, as well as Greenland and Iceland, according to the global climate change. Ocean surface acidity has risen by 30% since the Industrial Revolution. The amount of carbon dioxide absorbed by the oceans is about 2 billion tons per year, according to realclimate.com. Global sea level has increased by roughly 8 inches over the past century, and the rate of increase is accelerating. Global warming causes sea level rise in 2 ways. 1, ocean water is expanding as it warms, and 2, land-based ice in glaciers and ice sheets is melting, according to NWF.org.
Hello?
Hello, this is Ben Brandt.
Hi.
Hi. I'm here to interview you about climate change.
Why do you think global warming is happening?
Well, there's a whole number of things. The first, make it simple, if you look at different places on the Earth, you see the impact of global warming. One of the major ones is the Arctic, where the ecosystem of the Arctic is basically in the process of being destroyed now. And that's happening because the sea ice is required for most of the critters that live up there. And sea ice is going away. So that's a big deal. And the warming is bigger in the Arctic than I think virtually anywhere else on Earth. And that's just exactly what the computer models predict. The thing that you can see if you look around the world is that virtually all of the glaciers on the planet are melting. They're all melting at once. There are a few that aren't, but most of them, largest number of them certainly are. And the only reason to explain that happening is global warming.
Okay.
And then the final one that I will leave you with is one of the most impressive and scary ones. The acidity of the oceans is increasing. And that happens when the CO2 is absorbed into the ocean. It makes the whole situation more acidic. About half of the phytoplankton, the small creatures that live in the ocean, are susceptible to that increase in acidity. It kills them. And sometime around 2040 or so, the acid levels will get strong enough that the food chain in the oceans will begin to see it. and they're sort of the basis of life on Earth. They also produce about half of the oxygen that we use every year. So to have that part of the ecosystem, react is very, very scary.
Do you think that the 2 degrees Celsius goal of limiting global temperature change is a good goal, or is it too high or too low?
It's going to be too high. We need much better than that. We're already at, 1.5 degrees, and you can see, as I said, the glaciers melting in the Arctic, becoming ice-free, and on and on and on and on. And we're not even at 2 degrees yet. The other problem is that the oceans take a while to catch up. So if you were to turn off carbon input today, it would take you something like 30 to 40 years before the ocean equilibrated. It's got a lot of warming yet to do. And of course, that means that the air over land, everything has to warm up increasingly also. So you had to pick a number to shoot for. 2 is what they picked. It could have been worse. It could be better. But that's what they came up with.
Do you think the world's governments have been doing a better job decreasing emissions since the latest report was issued?
No, I don't think there's much of a change. Last year, supposedly the amount of carbon put into the world last year was about the same as this year. So the increase, maybe slowed down. Maybe it didn't. Maybe the weather was just strange. But they've got a long way to go. And one of the problems has been that the big energy producing companies, Exxon's and Shell and all of those people, they've put up quite a fight for the last almost 30 years now, trying to argue that this global warming is not real, and on and on and on. They've had testified in front of Congress. They bought congressmen. Really nasty, but they're doing that to protect their business. And until you get those guys turned around and going in the opposite direction than they are now, that's not going to happen.
Yes, sir.
They basically, in my view, run the world's governments.
Overall, in all of the research that has been conducted, we have found that humans are creating and speeding up global warming at an alarming rate. Although it may seem like an insurmountable obstacle to overcome, global warming can be fixed by decreasing greenhouse gas emissions and taking care of our beautiful planet that we've come to know and love.